Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Phillips. I'm with Zebra Technologies. I'm the Director of Solution Sales and Consulting for the Manufacturing, Transportation, Logistics Group within North America. It's a big title, but really doesn't mean much. So I have been with Zebra now for 18 years, where I have been talking to customers and partners about what it means to create visibility within an operational supply chain. Primarily around location solutions. So that's really what I'm here to talk to you about today. If you look behind you directly, you'll see our booth is right behind you. It's the NFL toss booth where we're throwing a football around. We've had a relationship now with the NFL since 2014, where we started tracking the players during the game. So what that means is each player has 2 tags. And we manage the player's location and position data during the game for every game, every player, every stadium within the United States, in the UK, and down in Mexico. And what we found is that when we think about looking at the player activity, there's a direct translation to what data and what that kind of type of data is and creates. And what that means to supply chain activity. So we are the official on-field player tracking provider for the NFL, and we manage all of the data from the game all the way through the NFL, through all of its partners, including the broadcasters, data that goes out to Microsoft, where they take the data and send it down to their Xbox users. And then out to stats, where they deliver it out to the folks that like to do fantasy football, and creates about 67 unique additional statistics within football. So it's really the epitome of what IoT is, right? So enterprise asset intelligence and the type of data that's created. Is very, it's sense, analyze, and act. Think of it as 2 tags, 1 on each shoulder pad. And so you get orientation of the players, you get their velocity, how quick they accelerate, how quickly they go left, how quickly they go right. And that data becomes actionable. So I mentioned that the NFL takes it and we put it out to their partners, but they also take it within the teams, and the teams will actually look at the data post the game and be able to start to analyze and act upon it as it relates to how plays were run, how individual players were running and performing during the game, and they're able to take that and immediately start to coach to it on Monday morning. So, as I mentioned, 2 receivers, two sensors in the shoulder pads, 20 receivers around the perimeter of the football field, and that gives them resolution to about 3 inches in a 3-dimensional space at all times. Tags are blinking about 15-20 times a second, and the algorithms within the software, which we call MotionWorks, allow us to get some, as I mentioned, some unique statistics, and the data looks like motion. So what is that different than what we would consider like a discrete event within a supply chain? So motion data looks very similar to, I create a pattern, I understand how something moves over time, and then I can create an actionable event at that point to say, oh, that pattern looks like this, therefore that is an event. Locationing, which is really what we think about when we're looking at supply chain activity today, really looks at it more from a discrete perspective to say something shows up or something departs, that's the event. Motion looks at it over a period of time in directions and speeds and says, okay, based on that, I see a pattern, I recognize it, and I'm creating an event off of that.
In 2014, the NFL strategically selected Zebra's MotionWorks system. Using patented RFID technology, Zebra's innovative system automatically generates the most reliable and analyzable big data set in sports and produce real-time insights to assist in coaching and player evaluation decisions. Zebra's time-tested and proprietary technology has revolutionized real-time player tracking.
CBS Sports, in partnership with the NFL, introduces you to next-generation statistic groundbreaking technology that brings you to the screen never-before-seen player-specific metrics direct from tracking devices worn by every player tonight.
Zebra's real-time player tracking system during live game broadcasts now gives fans a new ability to see player participation, groupings, formations, route running, speed, separation, and new distance stats never before featured. The system also provides coaches with in-depth insights into players during practices, using data never before available to learn more about players' capabilities, develop more targeted coaching plans, and create specific training programs for guiding and monitoring player development over the course of a season and career, all of which will have a positive influence on how the game is played and how fans will experience it.
So when we look at the NFL and we think about the NFL was really about understanding data over time and distance. And so we like to translate that and think about our operational data for our customers, for our manufacturing customers, our logistics customers. And we think about creating the case for location in enterprise operations. So what I mean by location is the data set created for location data, right? So the way we look at it is we always start with what the business savings is, right? We as managers within our operations look at that, and our job is to actually create savings within our operations, right? And we do that by freeing up cash and avoiding cost primarily. That's what it is. It's more of an efficiency play than it is anything else. The way we do that, though, is we manage business processes. Sometimes it's very good, sometimes it's very bad, but it's a process all the same, and we look at trying to improve it. So we look at improving it in ways in which we work, and we want to do that over time. We also, the first thing though, in order to be able to improve that process, is we need to be able to measure it, right? The old adage is, you cannot improve that which you cannot measure. So we're looking at measuring processes. So that's the next piece of that though, is what we call visibility, and that's the information about the process. So think of it as, visibility is where is something right now, right? Where's my asset? Where's my trailer? Where's my whip? Where's my finished good? Where's my product? Where's my purchase part? That's visibility. Measurability is looking at that over a period of time. How long was that part there? How long was that finished vehicle in the ship process? And then to be able to look at that data and apply it back to the business process. We do that and creating value in edge devices and looking at it from auto ID technology, RFID, RTLS, location solutions, and that's how we create accurate and efficient information. Now the key thing here is there's two ROI points associated to location technology, location solutions. The first is quick ROI through data automation. So what do I mean by that? That's the visibility piece. Hey Dave, I need a report that shows me where all my finished vehicles are today, right? So when I look at that, I go, that's a quick win. I can do that from a lean perspective. That's what we do from a Kaizen activity. We create data automation to bring value into the business right away. But the real money, the real ROI savings is through structural process transformation using the data that's created for visibility and measurability using tools like Six Sigma DMAIC process, where you define, measure, analyze, improve, and control over time based on the data in which you collect for visibility, where is something, and the measurability, how long was it there, how long did it take, and putting that into the business process over a period of time. Now, you can look at that and you go, okay, that sounds great, but there's, my business process is different than the other company and different from another organization. We look at that very simply. Supply chain workflow from warehouse to assembly to ship, the 14 primitives that are within supply chain are the same. It doesn't matter where you are within the supply chain, where you are within the delivery chain, which organization you work for, which market you support. These primitives are the same. You will still receive material on site. You'll associate it. You'll send it off site potentially. You'll put it away. You'll retrieve it. You'll record its movement. You'll monitor it. You'll identify it. You'll locate it. Manage its workflow, safeguard, count, consume, and disassociate. A lot of customers think that, hey, this is what I want to talk to you about, right? Locating material. So if we go back here real quick, locating material is this little thing here, visibility. It's a Kaizen activity. It's just a report. It's just some information that says, hey, I can locate something. But that's just one of 14 primitives. So when we look at and we think about supply chain activity, manufacturing processes, logistics activity, we're looking at all 14 of these primitives and how can I create inputs and outputs for each one of these with location data. Okay? Data being the key. It's not about the technology. It's in this particular case, it's about creating the data that I can measure and put back into the business process using Six Sigma DMAIC processing, statistical analysis based on that to change the process over time. Now, one way of future-proofing how you do this, because technology changes over time, is you look at it and you layer it, and we think of it as sense, analyze, and act. Sense, analyze, and act actually lines up fairly well with visibility, which is sensing, analyzing is measurability, and business process is act. So when you think of it, you're trying to insulate your act from your analyze piece and your sense piece. So sensing, the ability to take in barcodes, passive RFID, active RFID, GPS, Wi-Fi, BLE, flavor of the month. It doesn't matter from a technology perspective. What matters is, can you create the inputs and outputs to these particular primitives within your supply chain for the particular ROI savings that you're trying to create. Okay? So the way we do that today within Zebra is we look at all kinds of different types of devices that can create actionable events at the backside, right? This little device down here is the player tag for the NFL. This little tag right here is the tag that's in the ball. So again, if you look back over there, those guys are throwing the football around. That tag's got, and not only are we locating it in three-dimensional space, it has accelerometers in it, so we know and understand the rotation of a ball, and we can then understand flight trajectory, angles, things like that, how quickly something is coming out, tie that data to probability of caught versus all of the other types of data you could get. And so when you start looking at devices like this, it's about fusing the data with other relevant pieces of data, putting context to all of it, providing a context so that you can put that context back into the business process. So just a quick brief, could you also get my clock running? Because I'm still at 45 minutes. You guys don't want me talking for more than 45 minutes. So from a comparison here, there's a couple of ways to look at technology, right? One size does not fit all for technology. We found that out, and we found that out kind of the hard way. Sometimes you only have so much technology in your pocket that you can deliver to a customer. Or if you are a customer, you are sitting there talking to somebody that only has so much technology that they can pull out of their pocket and deliver to you. But you've got to look at it holistically. You got to know that there are trade-offs on technology, what I'll call different accesses or vectors, right? These are just two, location accuracy versus update rates. So for that, you basically look at something like barcode is on the very bottom. You know when it happens. There is really no accuracy associated to it, and it requires you to do a visual update to it. NFC, passive RFID, other types of active RFID solutions, AwareNet solution, DART ultra wideband is what we use for the NFL. Each one of these provides a particular value proposition into the workflow in which you're trying to cover off. And it can be, very simply, that each one of these primitives may require or could benefit from a different technology. So it's not necessarily about the technology, it's about pulling it all together in the analyze piece to be able to create the insights and the analytics associated to what those different sensing devices are doing. And then putting them and feeding them so that you create value back into each one of those individual processes. So a couple of thoughts on technology dimension. A lot of customers, when I engage with them and they say, hey Dave, I understand that I can get these passive RFID chips now for 5 cents. Well, I need to be able to, take that 5-cent chip and I need to be able to locate it anywhere within my warehouse and when it goes down the road and, I need to know where it is within, 2 centimeters. That's a very common conversation. And if you've had that before, you can raise your hand, but please don't because we don't want to embarrass you. So we usually have the conversation about technology dimension, that there's trade-offs, right? And each one of these trade-offs has a cost factor associated to it, but it also has a pro and a con, or groups of pros and groups of cons associated to what it's going to do within the workflows that are within your supply chain. So range is the big one, right? Hey, can I locate something outdoors as it's going down the road? Yes, sure you can. You use a GPS, right? But you wouldn't use a DART tag, such as what they're using on the football. That won't work on a wide area network, right? But it works great within a football field or within your manufacturing plant. Works fantastic. Accuracy, is it down to, is it always in this location? If I say it's on this table, is it on the table? If I'm saying it's on the stage, is it on the stage? If I say it's in the theater, is it in the theater? That's accuracy. Precision is, can I get to the table and whereabouts on that table can I get it, right? Infrastructure, can I use my existing Wi-Fi network? Can I use my existing passive RFID arrays that I have everywhere? Deployment, battery life, interoperability, cost. Each one of these factors drives an ROI decision about the technology as it relates to supporting the business process. So just a kind of a quick brief on a couple of customers and a couple of solutions that we've deployed. So Ford Motor Company uses our technology and our solutions to track vehicles from end of line through the delivery chain. They do that in a combination of solutions, including using active RFID tags as vehicles come off the end of the line to track them through test and inspection and into the shipping lots, and then of course barcode labels to do transactional updates as the vehicle moves through the delivery chain out to the dealer network. We do that with every North American facility and have had great success with that over the years. So when we look at This is a fusion of different technologies, locating and doing location updates and making it actionable throughout the enterprise, not just at a single site, not just for the operator. We also have these views that allow us to, going back into the visibility piece. Hey, where is something? So I can look at each one of these dots or individuals. I can zoom in on this and see a particular VIN, just as an example. This is a vehicle processing center, and anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 vehicles on site at any time. That's the value of looking at visibility, creating visibility, because organizations like this can take that visibility that's created and start changing their business processes, and that's exactly what they did over time. So we use our analyze piece is what we call MotionWorks Enterprise, and we create these very unique views around enterprises, and those can be single sites, they can be multiple sites. Most of our customers roll out enterprise views of operational activity, where they'll want to look at parts as they cross the United States, just as an example. Or they move from distribution centers in Erlanger, Kentucky, into assembly facilities in Durham, North Carolina. So that's how our customers look at it, how they use it, how they look at the data, and how it creates value for them. We've done projects with drones. This is a big one, right? A lot of people have talked about drones within supply chain. We think this actually has some legs, and the reason it does is it combines technology to get volumetric estimation very quickly. So we'll do it with drones where we'll have on the drone unit itself, we'll put a passive RFID reader. We'll combine that with what the WMS system says for the unit ID. So if I know, if I'm passing over a stack and I come up with a unit ID of 123, the WMS system says, okay, that's this particular container. I use LiDAR on this to give me my exact height over the ground and also my exact height over the stack, so I can get volume, so I know if I'm over a 2 high or a 3 high. And then of course for location, GPS outdoors works fantastic, and then we use our ultra wideband indoors to get this unit so it knows specifically where it is. The ultra wideband is the same technology we use with the NFL, so it gets very precise, accurate information about where the drone is indoors. We combine all of that data together to get an estimate of how many empties or fulls or whatever it happens to be containers that you're looking at in a particular area. So it removes the need to go and do manual audits, creates a tremendous value for customers. You can apply this not just to racks, you can apply it to trailers, you can apply it to vehicles, finished vehicles, you can apply it to anything you could possibly imagine within a supply chain to go and do automated inventory. So a little bit about how that works. So for indoors, we use DART ultra wideband, and that ultra wideband just means that it runs in a 6.5 gigahertz frequency. So if you're familiar with Wi-Fi, 2.4 gig, and so this is much higher. It doesn't interfere with any of that. It gives you all kinds of different visibility, 3-dimensional, 2-dimensional, presence, all kinds of different things. Accuracy to less than 30 centimeters. Designed to work in complex and metallic environments. So even though we use it for the NFL today, it's actually had cut its teeth at Boeing, where we track in Everett and Renton all of the in-process work and conveyance methods using DART. Has tremendous capacity. We won't get into too much of the technology side of it. If you could hit this one for me, thank you.
Volkswagen Osnabrück is the newest European site in the Volkswagen Group. The Osnabrück site is a so-called multi-brand plant. This means that we make cars for the Volkswagen brand and the Porsche brand. These are premium products, and so our customers expect a very high standard of quality. We can guarantee the quality of the products because we have a trained and highly skilled labor force and reliable production facilities. The system from Zebra that we have installed allows us to drive the vehicles out of the production building directly to the OBD station, where we can immediately see the results of the test. The test runs in the background while the employee stays in the vehicle. Afterwards, he can drive to the next location. The station isn't only in this area. We've also designed the Cell Point 8 to allow us to remove any radio modules that may have been left in the car. We placed the order with Zebra within 6 weeks. The implementation took about 3 months, and everything is now running smoothly. In the Volkswagen plant in Osnabrück, we mainly use cordless screwdrivers. This has significant advantages, including ergonomics. The tools are small, light, easy to use and flexible because they do not need a power supply or a compressed air supply. This improves quality standards because much less damage is caused to the paintwork, which can be very costly to repair. We can work efficiently because the tools don't need to be returned to their original location. Instead, we can take them with us to the next car. But one of the big disadvantages of this type of tool relates to process reliability. We can't be sure whether the employee with the tool is working in the right workplace on the right car and in the right location on the car. That's why we decided to use a real-time positioning system from Zebra. Using the system, we can activate tools depending on their position. This means that the screwdriver is activated within a radius of 30 centimeters to make sure that we're working on the right car, in the right workplace, and in the right location on the car. The installation of the system didn't have any impact on the assembly process because it took place during a non-productive period. Of course, that was a major advantage for us because otherwise it wouldn't have been possible to set up something like this.
So another example of how you can use location technology within a manufacturing process, right? You're tracking tools and you're tracking an understanding of where the tool was on within an assembly process, capturing the data so that you can analyze that over time or even alert to understand if a particular tool is touching a vehicle that it's not scheduled to. So there's all kinds of value that you can create above and beyond once you start tracking something, creating visibility within a particular process. There's all kinds of additional value created, like tracking tools, not just the line side assets, but the tools and being able to create data around that. So another way of looking at it is we have a customer in Europe that wanted to track and understand employee movement and arrivals and departures. So using technology, combination of two fuse technologies where we created a BLE receiver tag and an AwareNet backhaul capability to be able to locate it down to particular work cells. So for time management, understanding if somebody is in a building, outside of a building, this has a lot of traction. We have a lot of customers that are looking at it seriously now. Where when I started this, people wouldn't even think about tracking employees. within the context of a manufacturing environment or whatever it is. But we've seen that tide has kind of changed, and for a whole host of reasons. But one of them is around safety. So I'll give you an example. Today at Boeing, at every one of their paint hangars in Everett and Renton and the Carolinas, we manage the lifts that the workers go on when they go up and down on a plane within the paint hangar. So they get tethered into the lift, and we use our ultra wideband DART technology to understand if the worker is actually tethered onto the unit or not. The way we do that is they've got their harness that they wear. On that harness, it has 2 tags, just like the NFL player. So we know the orientation of the worker as they're walking around the platform, right? So that platform's about the same size as this stage here, and yet it's going up and down up the side of a 737 or a 787 doing a paint job. And on top of that platform are 2 workers. There's a control panel that they use to move the unit around, and each worker has their harness on and a tether. And so at the end of the tether that connects back up here, behind them, those 3 tags come together. There's a tag on the tether, the 2 tags on the shoulder pad, and we create what's called an entity relationship. Okay, and what that means is those 3 tags should always be moving around together on top of the platform. Just as if I'm moving around, you would see 3 tags within the system, all within a foot and a half of each other at all times. If the system ever detects that those 3 become separated, the system, through a PLC connection, will turn the unit off and send it slowly down to the ground, okay? Of course, for a company like Boeing, that's a big ROI savings, right? It costs them $150 million to get a plane out the door every day. So they need to make sure that their employees are safe, that they don't have to shut an operation down because something went wrong. That's a very valuable thing to them. So when we think about organizations and how they look at people tracking, it's really not in the context of people tracking. We call it people tracking, but it's really in the context of a workflow. Can I support the safety of the employee? In a case like Boeing, absolutely. Can I support the things that they're going to do anyways on a normal basis? They have to clock in, they have to clock out. So, situations like this where I'm just understanding if they're at their work area or not, that's really what customers are looking for today. This is just another example of where somebody would be working, just understanding if they're at that workstation or not. The BLE beacons are mounted within the workspace. So where we have a BLE receiver on the employee. So BLE receiver, if anybody's not familiar with that works like your phone, right? So your phone is a big BLE receiver. And a beacon is just a small battery-operated device. It's usually affixed to an asset or affixed to a location, and the receiver hears that, and it says, "Oh, I'm now hearing this particular beacon." Sends that data out, and the back-end system says, "Oh, that beacon is a location beacon. I now know your phone, your mobile device, your asset is at this particular location." Or if the beacon is an asset beacon, then you'll know that you've just come in contact with that particular asset. So that's how we look at it. That's how we think about location within operations. Again, it's about visibility that you create using edge devices that create automated data to create a value proposition, an ROI for quick wins within an operation. Help me understand where something is. And then the visibility is how do I improve things over time? The measurability is how do I improve things over time so that I can create more value and drive cost out of my operational processes. So that's what I had for everybody today. I'll be available for questions and answers. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take them now.